The Honourable Mark Brown. Oh, that bag looks nice. Those two got one. That's fine, Jesse, that's fine. Now it's time for a quick Q&A with our dual deputies. Now we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, so please keep your questions brief. Please make sure they are questions. We don't have time for speeches, unfortunately. And keep the questions related to the topics that we talked about today. We all want to know about this extra bottle of Chardonnay, but that's for another time. And so where would you like the deputies to... Sorry, if we're going to invite you both to the stand. They're both mic'd, aren't they?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll take this one. Now, fellas, if anything's too tricky here, you can throw it to me. I'm well versed in diplomacy. Oh, I have to give this to Winston? Okay.
No, we're not mic'd.
Oh, you're not mic'd? Okay. We'll shout out. Okay. Okay. Oh, so, no, do we need to get a mic for this?
I can shout.
Okay, everyone shout.
Peter Adams, formerly and thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. I have a comment, but I'll disguise it as a question, John. And then another quick question. But it's not just about what we do and how much we do, it's the way we do it, which Deputy Prime Minister Mark Brown said. Perhaps it's the difference, or is it the difference between working on the Pacific, as so many donors do from over the horizon, and working in the Pacific, living in the Pacific? The boundary is outside us. New Zealand goes around us in the Pacific. It makes a big difference how you think about those things. I believe that Mark Brown said that very eloquently. The next point is a question. Now, free association with but is the association constraining the free in the modern world? Why cannot the Cook Islands become independent with New Zealand by treaty? As you're graduating now with developing country status, it's all the more important that we address this question of islands' independence and achieve it.
That's a debate and a discussion that we've been having now for 10 years, since we've been government. And it is something that is becoming relevant as the Cook Islands is engaging more on the global stage. And for us, identity as a people, as a Cook Island people, is very, very important. But equally important is our relationship with New Zealand. There's no denying that without this special relationship that we've had now for over 50 years, that the Cook Islands would be at this level of development. But in saying that, we are now shifting to another step, engaging in another level, and the requirement, I believe, for the Cook Islands to have its independent identity remains. But we cannot escape the fact that globally there are 100,000 Cook Islanders. The bulk of them live in New Zealand, increasingly now over 20,000 living in Australia. And that is how we ply our life as Cook Islanders. Our workforce is in high demand in these countries. In Australia, they work in the mines, in the construction sector, in the service sector. And the intention for all Cook Islanders, because of the fact that all Cook Islanders own land, is that when they finish their work in their country, they want to be able to live in retirement and comfort back in their own country. And the need for that New Zealand passport that we have to allow this free access between these two countries is vitally important for us. However, that's a discussion that we would have to undertake with New Zealand to have the Cook Islands independence, but having also that ability to be able to move freely between our two countries. Because let's not forget, the original Maori came from Rarotonga, the Tōkana. We left the troublemakers here in New Zealand. And that's the discussion that will have to take place in another arena, I guess.
Thanks. Thank you. So very good, great work. Less boundary-based questions. Anything else from yes, sir?
Shout. Okay.
Oxfam New Zealand. Relates to a comment. Clearly, there is a constituency in New Zealand that perhaps Minister Peter engage with. How do you are some of the narratives that we need to be thinking about that have resonance with New Zealanders who haven't bought into this project yet? And what do we need to do to reach out and to build that broader constituency?
Well, it's not a case of either or. It's a case of doing both. And so we have to dislodge the idea that by doing what we are doing means that we're going to have less nurses, less doctors, less school teachers, and less policemen, men and women. The fact is we have to do both in a modern context, and we always have had to do both in that sense. And I think it's keeping it that simple. Why is it, though, that we could go to the Pacific Island constituency in New Zealand, where they fully understand what we're talking about, but across the divide, ethnically speaking, a lot don't? Well, maybe we should get them better and do much more substantial presentations, even in places like the Manukau Courier or the West Auckland Courier, and get our message away. I'd just like to say there, could I just answer the constitutional question you asked? Your constitutional question is pretty huge for this country. I'm not going to go off the top of my head and end up with a malignant headline. To say it's a question for the Cook Islands population, as much as us, every man, woman there.
If I could just also add to that question you raised, it's not just New Zealand taxpayer questioning ODA. Cook Islands taxpayers as well ask, why are we relying so much on development assistance? Why are we, they refer to it as a handout. And I pointed out before, the reality is for us, development assistance makes up an important component of financing our development agenda. Sealing a runway, doesn't matter if you're sealing it for 1,000 people or 10,000 people, cost is the same to seal that runway. So spreading it amongst the smaller population puts a huge burden of cost on the domestic resources, which is where development finance and increasingly climate finance becomes much, much more important to us to achieve these development goals. Why do you want to seal the runway? Well, you want to build resilience, increase storms coming through. You want to be able to get back on your feet as quickly as possible from the effects of sea surge, protect the impacts of these climate change effects by being able to get back quickly. And to do that, you've got to put money into building resilience. And the World Bank tells us for every dollar you put into building resilience, you save $8 in recovery. So it just makes sense.
I have time for one more. Yes, sir, over there.
Do you think engage in a collaborative grant or increase the interest from the community and decrease their risk through more choice, perhaps with Minister New Zealand providing a sort of governance overview for the entire process? Any thoughts on that?
It's always been a challenge for us to get local business involved in the development program that we have. Much of it goes out for international tender, and because of the scale and the barriers, I guess, you have to overcome in order to meet the criteria as an international bidder, very few of our companies would succeed. However, we've managed to change that level of compliance requirement, while still ensuring the quality of service being delivered by domestic companies can be met. So we've had some success in that. For us, by looking at a regional approach, really is more of the same thing, because you've got much larger companies coming out of countries like Fiji, Samoa, and so forth. The scale of our companies, it really demonstrates how small our economy is, a microeconomy, and it's just not an even footing, even on a regional basis. So for us, the solutions are tailored to suit the Cook Islands context in terms of being able to access those international tenders for development projects.
Much. There might be us. I think. Please join me in a round of applause for Oren Winston, please. Yes, really wonderful to hear your eloquent and passionate person. So thank you again.